people actually crying and saying, oh my god, you don't know what you've done. And I was just there like, I didn't know what to do, because I didn't even know what to say. But because for me just being me, just talking about my situation, it made other people think like, oh my god, I'm not. Hi guys, it's Musha and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about autism and what it is, what it's about, how it can affect you, how it affects me, how it affects all of us in society, in this world that we live in. The reason I'm doing this video, obviously it's been Mental Health Awareness Week, so I thought I would talk about this topic simply because it's a mental disability type of thing. And don't come for me for those people who have this disability. I'm just speaking from my point of view and from what I know, so this is a disclaimer. But yeah, if you'd like to learn more about this, then please do keep on watching. I am just going to talk about my experience and what I know so far and how it has affected me, because most of you know that my child has got autism, and I spoke about it in a video that I did when I first, well, it wasn't the first time I found out about it, but it was obviously after a few months of me learning that my child got developmental delay and also is autistic, so he's on the spectrum. So this is the long-winded intro. Yeah, without too much talk, let's get into this video. Let's get started. Okay, so before I go further into this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more content from me. And yeah, ring the bell so that you will be notified whenever I do upload a video. So bear with me, this is a sensitive subject to me and to other people who may be going through the same situation. So be mindful when you leave comments, you know, think about other people. Don't be too harsh, okay? We're all humans at the end of the day, so be mindful of the things that you feel like you want to say in the comments, okay? In my previous video that I talked about the truth about being a single mother, I did mention obviously that my child is autistic, so being a single mother and then being a single mother to a child who's autistic is even more like difficult in my head. Obviously to me it is more difficult because I don't know anything about motherhood, okay? I've had to learn as I go, and then now my child is autistic. I've never heard, like I've heard about it, but it's just one of them things, you know, when it doesn't affect you, you don't really pay attention to it, you don't really like want to learn more about it. So it never crossed my mind like, oh, let me do some research into this. What is it? What, you know, how does it affect people? So I never really knew until obviously it was my child who is now going through that. And yeah, but the first things first, what I'll start with, I will just read you the definition of what is autism. Like, let's get to the basics, like for most of you who don't know what is autism. So I'm just going to read on the NHS website, nhs.uk. That's where I'm reading this from, because I feel like this is more I trust this place more than, you know, Wikipedia, because Wikipedia people change things all the time. So this is their point of view on what autism is, so it's going to be a bit of a read, so bear with me. So it says, what is autism? Autistic people may act in a different way to other people. Autistic people may find it hard to communicate and interact with other people, find it hard to understand how other people think or feel, they may find things like bright lights or loud noises overwhelming, stressful or uncomfortable, get anxious or upset about unfamiliar situations and social events, take longer to understand information, do or think the same things over and over again. Yeah, so it says autism is not an illness. Being autistic does not mean you have an illness or disease. It means your brain works in a different way from other people. It's something you're born with or first appears when you're very young. If you're autistic, you are autistic your whole life. Autism is not a medical condition with treatments or a cure. It says cure, but some people need support to help them with certain things. Autistic people can live a full life. Being autistic does not have to stop you having a good life like everyone else. Autistic people have things they are good at as well as things they struggle with. Being autistic does not mean you can never make friends, have relationships, or get a job, but you might need extra help with these things. Autism is different for everyone. Autism is a spectrum. This means everybody with autism is different. Some autistic people need little or no support. Others may need help from parents or carer every single day. Some people use other names for autism. There are other names for autism used by some people, such as autism spectrum disorder, ASD, the medical name for autism. And then there's autism spectrum condition, ASC, used by some people. And then there's Asperger's syndrome, used by some people to describe autistic people with average or above average intelligence. Okay, then it says it's not clear what causes autism. Nobody knows what causes autism, or if it has a cause. Autism is not caused by bad parenting, vaccines such as MMR vaccines, diet. It's not an infection you can spread to other people. Autistic people can have any level of intelligence. Some autistic people have average or above average intelligence. Some autistic people have learning disability. This means they may find it hard to look after themselves and need help with daily life. Autistic people often have other conditions like attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, or dyslexia, anxiety or depression, epilepsy, and so on. Yeah, so those are the things, that's what describes autism. Okay, so obviously those are the things, and with my child, obviously he's on the spectrum. I'm really not sure which side of the spectrum he is, but for me, I look at it like he has more difficult, like understanding certain things, learning new things. It's hard for him. It's like we have to constantly push him to do certain things, because he won't learn. Like, he just doesn't care unless it's food, you know, unless it's got something to do with eating. He's definitely going to put in the effort, but if it doesn't interest him, he's not even going to bother learning, you know. So it's constant. Like, I literally have to help him with everything. Like, at his age right now, he's 5. Most of his peers, they do a lot of things for themselves, things like getting, you know, get your shoes on, put your jacket on, just little things like go grab this, close that door. He doesn't understand any of those things, so I have to like literally teach him how to do that. Like, now I am teaching him how to undress himself, and we are getting there. Okay, we are getting there. He knows when I say take your shoes off, he knows how to take his shoes off now. He knows how to take his jacket off. You know, he can take his clothes off fine, but the putting on, that's when we need to work on right now. So I'm doing, you know, bit by bit, because obviously to him a lot of things it becomes overwhelming. Even learning a new skill to him is like, oh, he panics and he gets, you know, like it's like too much, like go away, and he shuts down. So I have to be very patient with him. I wanted to talk about also like what are the symptoms of autism, just in case you're wondering. You may have a child who you're not sure what's really going on with them, and the doctor haven't really told you what's going on, because sometimes they don't really tell you until your child turns 3, because they want to make sure that it is actually autism and not just the signs, because some kids display signs of autism and they're not actually autistic. So obviously they don't tell you about that until your child turns 3 or 4, and then they'll let you know, like, okay, this is what we thought it is. Like, you know, they diagnosed my child when he was 3, I think. Yeah, when he turned 3, that's when they were like, okay, you know, on a developmental basis, he's non-verbal, he's still in nappies. Yeah, so obviously I'm trying to get him out of the nappies, but it has to be a slow process, you know. For him going to the toilet, I think it shocks him. I don't know, like I've had to bring him back to the potty. I've had to bring him back to the potty because I used to put him on the toilet, but I think maybe I might have moved him on there too quick, so it's like it freaked him out and he stopped going. So I've had to put him back on the potty, and then he's now started going to the toilet again. So it's just, oh gosh, you have to figure things out a lot. So let me just share with you a bit of the symptoms of autism. Okay, so signs of autism in children. Autism in young children. Signs of autism in young children include not responding to their names. So yeah, my child before, he didn't really respond to his name. So people would be like, oh, they would ask me, but like when the health visitor would come, they would say, oh, you know, does he normally respond to his name? But it's like I have to call him several times for him to be like, you know, be like, oh, I'll have to shout Caden, then he'll, you know, respond back like after scream. So they thought maybe he had glue ears, and they checked his ears, they did an operation, and they found that there was nothing wrong with his ears. He responds when he's ready, when he wants to, when he, you know, when he feels like it. But now I feel like he's learning. He responds more often. Before he would just literally completely blank you until he feels like you can hear you now. So avoiding eye contact, that's one thing he struggles with. You can't look at him for a long time, like in his eyes. With my son now, you know, he's getting there, but it's still difficult. Like whenever you shout at him for something, he always goes, you know, he'll put his face down, hide himself, and it's like, you know, he doesn't want to look at you. Even when I'm getting him ready, I try to look him in the eyes, I try to smile with him and look him in the eyes, but he will stay with you for like 2 seconds and then he's out. He looks somewhere else. He'll look anywhere else but you. That's one thing. Autistic children, they don't give eye contact because I feel like it gives them anxiety, like it's too much, like why are you looking at me, ooh, you know, so it's like back up, stay away. He avoids, but he was avoiding. There was a time when he was avoiding eye contact, and I started doing this thing called intensive play with him, where I would force him to look at me. I would, you know, play with him in a certain way. I would do things that would allow him to face me and look at me, and it gave him a bit more of confidence to be able to stare at me, to be able to play with me, you know, eye contact mode. And so we're still trying to develop more on those skills. Not smiling when you smile at them. Yeah, that's one thing. It's very rare that my son smiles at a person when they're smiling at them, or somebody's trying to interact with them. You know, even I tried when I went to take him for a photo shoot, he was just like the guy who was taking photos was trying to make him laugh. I was the one laughing, and my son was just there like, what are you doing, basically? So yeah, for him to smile, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for him to smile. Getting very upset if they don't like a certain taste, smell, or sound. Yeah, it doesn't get upset with that. Yeah, he doesn't get upset, but he does run. There's this thing, what they call stimming, when someone's got autism, and it's the way they cope with when things get overwhelming. So my son's way of coping is running back and forth. So whenever there's something that's going on that feels like it's overwhelming and it's too much, he'll start running back and forth, because that's how he self-regulates, like, you know, to just make sense of everything that's going on. So what I've noticed with my son is that whenever I'm grabbing plates in the kitchen, if I'm trying to bring the plates out, because they make that clinky noise and like, you know, he doesn't like that sound, so you just see him like running, like he'll start running and stuff. You know, with other kids, what they do, maybe they'll scream. Some of them, they're very sensitive to noise, so they cover their ears. Some of them would just like start rocking back and forth. That's what I've seen about the stimming. They call it stimming. And so some of them, they shake their hands, they just do a lot of things. Some of them they hide in little things just to remove themselves from the situation, because an autistic person, they hear everything, like everything. To them, being able to cancel out noise, it's difficult. So for some of us, we can, you can have the TV on and you have a person, you're talking to them. You can shut out the noise of the TV and then pay attention to this person. But with people who've got autism, they can't do that. Like it's difficult for them to shut out the different types of sounds. So it's like it's all coming in at once, and it's like it gets overwhelming. So they start doing all these things. For my son, it's running back and forth, and then people who don't understand, they'll look at them like, oh, what is wrong with him? Like, what are you doing? But like for some of us, our brain can shut out some of the noises, like a ticking clock. I can shut it out. For him, probably hearing the ticking clock, the TV, the people talking, just sound waves, everything is coming in at once. So obviously it gets overwhelming and they can't cope with that, and the only way they do is by stimming, and that's how they say self-regulate. So obviously that's one of the symptoms. Still on the on the topic. So repetitive movements such as flapping their hands, what I was talking about, flicking their fingers or rocking their body. Yeah, so that's one of those the signs. Not talking as much as other children. My child is non-verbal. Like he says, he speaks like once a month or two. Like he'll say one word for the whole month. You know, like he'll come out with one word, like, oh, like you say suma, and then that's it. Then we move on. You know, like you just, then that word will probably never come again. He'll never, or he'll sing one song, then he'll just never do it again. So yeah, I'm trying to work on communication, trying to get him to talk, hopefully. So yeah. Repeating the same phrases, yeah. They tend to like, you know, repeating the same phrases. So maybe they like things like trains and they'll want to talk about those things, but obviously for my child, he doesn't talk. So for him, the repetitive thing that he normally does is either running back and forth, or he'll just be watching something over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. So it's like they like to stay on one particular thing for a very long time. Yeah, and I feel like that's why maybe some of them are like, when they spend so much time on one thing, they learn about it and they become so good at it. Like my child skills that is good at is a drummer. So in school, the teacher was like so proud of him. They're like, oh my god, he was like literally following the beat. Like he was crying like, ah. They were like, Caden play. Then you know, he was drumming the beats like just the way the teacher was doing, and they were shocked because other kids were not able to do what he was doing. But he's like, it's weird, but I was just like, wow. So we need to harness that, you know, and let him, you know, do more drums. Like I need to buy him a drum kit set. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking of doing. So those are the signs of autism. There's so many of them. There's so many. In adults, autism is like, they are very intelligent in school, but they don't have social skills. They don't know how to make friends. They don't have friends. That's how adults like who've got autism, they don't know how to like approach people, how to speak to people. But when it comes to school stuff, you know, maths, they're like on top. Like science, they're like on top. You can't touch them. But when it comes to being social, understanding people, like understanding a joke for them is like, what? Like it takes a long time. So obviously, like one of the symptoms says, or not the symptom, but one of the things that they mention about autism is like the processing information to them takes longer. Like they might even process it, but it might still not make sense to them. So yeah, those are the signs. So in case you might be wondering, you know, if your child might have all these signs, maybe you might want to look into your, you know, get in touch with your GP and let them see your child and see. And yeah, because the earlier you can find out about these signs, the earlier you can start learning about your child and knowing what to do with your child. Okay. So because it's mental health awareness week, I just wanted to talk about this, and obviously, like I said, how obviously it affected me as a mother, and how I coped and how I was able to get through this and be at a point where I'm about to share this information and talk about it without breaking down in front of the camera. Okay, before I was so, I didn't want to hear it, I didn't want to talk about it, I didn't want anything. I just, you know, I was like no. My child is not autistic. I was just saying no. But I had to accept the fact that this is what it is, and I just need to accept and learn that's what it is. But the way I coped was, you know, I prayed. I was praying. I started going to church, you guys. I've always been a church goer, but obviously my church going increased. I still go to church now. I prayed. I just find somebody who can understand, someone to talk to. If you can't find someone to talk to, maybe find, you know, therapists and things like that that might be able to help you. But me, the way I dealt with it was obviously going to church, listening to messages on YouTube, like preaching messages. My favorite is Transformation Church, Pastor Mike Todd. If you guys listen to him, let me know. So yeah, I listen to him. I listen to a whole bunch of people, and I feel like the more you learn about what autism is, the better you will be. Like the better, you know, your mind will be, the better you'll be able to cope. That's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, don't cry yourself to sleep. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but try and find something else to do, or just learning more about it. Because once you learn about something, you become at ease. You know what it is. You're not constantly thinking what if, what is, what. And guys, one thing I want to mention is, obviously you're gonna have people look at you and, you know, maybe even laugh at your child, like, oh my god, look at, you know, the child doesn't talk, or the child doesn't do this, or the child, look at, you know, just all sorts of things. And that's okay, that's fine, that's their business. It's none of your business. Don't worry about them. That's between them and their God, okay? So don't feel like, you know, don't think what people say personally, because I've had people say things about my child and I'm just like, okay. And I feel like that's what pushed me to even like make a video like, okay, my child is autistic, okay? So if you find you don't, because people, they're looking from the outside and think they know, but they don't know. So obviously I made a video like, okay, here it is, my child is autistic. I didn't want to hide. I'm not gonna hide it like, oh, my child is autistic. I've had people say, why didn't she just go and talk to, you know, her close friends? Why did she have to bring it on YouTube? Oh, people would do anything for views. I am not doing it for views, okay? I don't do anything for views. Like, I love making YouTube videos, and for me it's about, you know, learning things and sharing it to the world, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's learning from you. And me doing that, I had people coming to me, people actually crying and saying, oh my god, you don't know what you've done. And I was just there like, I didn't know what to do, because I didn't even know what to say. But because for me just being me, just talking about my situation, it made other people think like, oh my god, I'm not alone. Especially like in the black community, autism is something that people look at it like, oh my god, oh, like, you know, like you're scared about it, because they say, oh, these are not things for like black people, it's white people stuff. No, it can affect any and everybody. In Africa, in Zambia, where I come from, I know a lot of people who are probably autistic and they were not diagnosed, because people don't know what it is, and people don't say, oh, they just put them in that crazy home place and forget about them. There are those who run around naked in the streets. Those people are probably autistic, or they've just gone mad, you know, things like that. Or that's what it is. And we don't know all those things. We just look at them like, oh, they're mad, or they don't talk, like. But it's like, those are the people who are never diagnosed, and their families let them down, and, you know, they run off astray. Or it's all those things that people don't understand, like their brain works different. So don't be afraid to talk about it, or to share your experience. Or, you know, I know not everyone wants to share that about their, you know, themselves or whatever, but it's good to talk about it. The more you talk about it, the more you're healing from the inside. And that's what I believe. Like, and for me, I feel like helping people helps me as well, helps me healing with that. I feel like I've reached that point where I'm like, I honestly don't care what anybody's gonna say about my child. Like, I've just reached a point where I don't care for anything. Like, what other people say about me is none of my business. Like, about me, about my child, about my life, like, I don't care, because this is my life and I'm gonna live it how I want to live it, okay? And that's on period. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Right, so yeah, that is just what I wanted to touch on. Get some help, get a friend that you can talk to, or a therapist, and yeah, it'll help you get out more, talk about it more, and learn more about your child. So okay, so now that I've talked about the symptoms, and yeah, the symptoms, what is autism, what are the symptoms of autism, now I want to talk to you about how does it affect our day-to-day lives, like me personally, like me and my son. How does it affect us? Well, first of all, because it's non-verbal, I'm going to stop using that word that is non-verbal, because he will be verbal, speaking into it. Yeah, so he finds it hard to communicate with me. He usually just uses crying to get my attention. I have to still do the guessing work. It's a bit like, you know, when it's a baby and when they're crying, it's either they're hungry, they need a nappy changing, or they're tired. So I still go for those three things. I'm like, okay, are you hungry? Are you tired? You know, because he'll cry. When he's tired, I can tell, like he'll be rubbing his eyes and he gets really frustrated. So that's really, it's difficult for me to just keep on doing the guessing work, because at this point I feel like obviously he's supposed to be telling me, Mommy, I'm tired, Mommy, I'm hungry, Mommy, can I have a drink, Mommy, I need the toilet. But there's none of that. So even the toilet part, because he's not talking to me, he's not able to tell me what he wants, it's like sometimes he'll end up, you know, end up messing his pants, and sometimes I catch him, I'm like, oh, toilet, you know. And sometimes I just guess, I'm like, I just put him on the toilet, like, sit down. Let's try and do this. And then he'll do something. Sometimes he won't do anything. So it's just one of them. It's a hit and miss. So obviously there's that part. And then with him as well, obviously he has allergies. So it's like with our diet, we're kind of like restricted to what he can and can't eat. And obviously because of him being autistic, and you know, like sugar, carbs, it makes them kind of more hyper, like sugar and all those things, like more hyperactive. It's like they're like just high on something, and then they act crazy. So with my son, I try to reduce the amount of sugar I give him, the amount of like, yeah, sugary stuff. Just, it's just not good for you. I'd rather give him the normal type of sugar, which comes from the fruits and all those things, not the other types of sugars. So yeah, like it's just a lot of different things, like the way it affects our lives. But obviously I've gotten used to it. I'm learning still. I'm trying to interact with him more, trying to learn about him, trying to learn what he likes, what he doesn't like. At this point, obviously, I know the things, especially when it comes to food, I know what he doesn't like and what he likes. But sometimes I just give it to him, because sometimes things that you like, you know, it's not good for you, and the things that you don't like are the ones that are good for you. And that's the truth about life. So as a mother, I have to be like, okay, I need to know what to give you, and I know he's not gonna like it and he's gonna cry about it, but it's like, there's nothing you can do. What can you do to help your child as a parent? Personally, what can you do? What I've done is I've done research. I've read a few books about autism, about diet, you know, just to get a better understanding, a deeper understanding of what's really going on in my child's brain. Okay, I just want to know, and I just want to learn about this. I wanted to learn about the whole autism thing, because I feel like some of us, we're very ignorant to certain things. Even if it's affecting us personally, we don't care much to learn about it. We just rely on what the doctor's going to tell us next appointment. You just want to wait for them to tell you what to do. And trust me, if you're going to sit and wait for somebody to help you with your child, then you're just, you know, you're not doing any good for yourself and your child. You need to do research. Google has a whole bunch of information. You can dig out and read through and see what you might find helpful from there. YouTube has got a whole bunch of videos. Yeah, just especially books. Try and read books and find out as much as you can, and then you might be able to help your child cope better. If your child is sensitive to noise, get them some earplugs, headphones, cover them, because imagine if they're sensitive to noise, imagine going through a town and mall. They're just gonna, you know, they're gonna be like freaking out, and people look at that like, oh, this child is spoiled, why is he behaving like that? But they don't understand that this child has got autism and they're sensitive to noise, and so they, you know, they don't know how to act in public because it's just like overwhelming and they freak out. And so listen, try and learn about your child and learn what affects him, what affects them, what they like, things, how do they cope in different environments. Yeah, just so you know how to deal with them. Like for me, I didn't, like, if I go out obviously with VN with VN, my child is obviously like, this is another thing, autistic people, they tend to have a routine. When you have a routine, they don't like doing different things. Like if you have a routine, you stick to it. If you change anything, you're gonna have issues. So we used to have this thing where my child, when we come back from wherever we've been to, there have to be food on the plate, on the table, ready to be eaten by my son. And you know, if I go into the living room and I'm not making any food, he will kick up a fuss. Like, he'll just start crying, and I'm like, why are you crying? Because he's like, where's the food? I need to eat. Because sometimes when we come back, I'll go straight to the kitchen and start cooking. But for him, it's like that became a routine. Like, that's the norm. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. So why are you not doing it? Whenever we're driving, when we start coming back home, he does not like it. He knows the route to home. So whenever he spots that we're now going home, he doesn't like it. He's like, why are we going back home? Because he wants to stay in the car, because he loves a good ride. When we go to the train station and we're not getting on the train, he starts crying. It's like, why are we not getting on the train? Maybe we're just picking up somebody from there. Maybe we're just passing by. He does not like that. If you go to somebody's house, you knock on the door, they're not available to open the door, he'll cry because why are we not going in? Because for him, in his head, whenever we knock on the door, we go to a door, we're supposed to go in. And if we don't go in, it's gonna be a problem. So obviously learn about those things about your child and see how better you can help them. So yeah, I just thought I should talk about this more and let you know, guys, about what it is and what I go through. And yeah, so I'm even thinking of, you know, starting a different channel maybe where I will dedicate, you know, this type of topics to that channel, and I will let you know, guys, when it goes live. Maybe I will link it in the description. So I'm thinking of maybe starting, because that time when I made that video when I spoke about my son's been diagnosed with autism, I kind of got a lot of calls, a lot of people ringing me, asking me questions, telling me like, oh my god, I didn't know this is what my child is going through. Some of them, they didn't get a diagnosis, but they look at the things that I was saying and they're like, oh my god, this is what it is. And so I just want to maybe be able to be that voice to other people and answer some questions that you may have, and also take you through the journey of me and my child, as we go to the journey of, you know, journey of growth. You know, hopefully my goal is for him to at least be able to communicate. Like, I don't care about any other things. He can do, you know, all these other things, because that's who he is. That's one thing you have to accept. When you accept that this is what it is and this is what we're gonna be dealing with, then you're gonna be fine. Otherwise, it's just gonna stress your life. You're gonna be crying all day and things like that. So when you accept, like, this is who he is and I have to treat him as such, then you'll be at peace with yourself, you'll be happy and things like that. So it's about acceptance as well. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, if you know anybody, or if you are somebody who is going through this process, then obviously you can reach out to me. I am free to talk. So yeah, what's the one thing I want to talk about? So yeah, the reason I obviously brought this up is about mental health week awareness, and I just wanted to bring this part because obviously it affects, you know, the brain, how people think. It's different to what other people call normal. And so yeah, so that is why I want to talk about that, because it can be very depressing. People go through this and you're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to cope? How, like, what do I do in this situation? So it's very difficult, and I understand, and this is coming from somebody who knows what they're talking about through experience, through learning. You know, I've made mistakes along the way, but I am learning, and I hope to take you on this journey with me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate your support, and yeah, until next time, guys, bye.